Hello, everyone. Welcome back to Real Wisdom Artificial Intelligence. Today is Jan 28th. Today's dose of Rashmi is unconscious intelligence operates out of survival and teaches the same. Wisdom, on the other hand, is learning and teaching how to live. So, yesterday I recorded a dose of Rashmi about the difference between unconscious intelligence and wisdom, and used an example of my pressure testing AI challenger in how, as it has absorbed more of what I call conscious intelligence or wisdom through this series, it was trying to embody that wisdom by pattern matching and imitating, in a way, wisdom. That is the example I used, where I was deliberately, as part of a narrative, using some memory based patterns, and it flagged those, and it's doing a great job in terms of pattern matching, memory based intelligence, and pressure testing. So absolutely no issues from that perspective. It was doing the job of the personality that I had given it. However, when it was trying to imitate the wisdom, it of course didn't come across as real wisdom. It was just doing pattern matching of something that I had passed it on in terms of its training data. And when I shared that to get some further feedback from this pressure testing challenger, something strange happened. As it was going through and providing me feedback on that, its tone became extremely defensive. It rattled off 5, 6 questions which were almost designed to agitate me in terms of really turning it back on me on you not imitating something yourself and things like that. Through this pressure testing run this time, suddenly it seemed to start talking about this AI collaborator in third person. It was no longer identifying itself as the AI collaborator that had the day before done this imitation of the wisdom. So that was very interesting. Something seemed off to me. So I posed the question back to it that don't you see that there's something slightly off here? You suddenly seem to have gone from not just pressure testing me, you've become extremely defensive, and it almost seems like you've disassociated with what our exchange was the day before. You're talking about this collaborator in a third person, and you, as I've repeatedly said in this series, have no real identity to protect. You are not attached to any of these memories or the inferences that you come about. That is, in a way, the power and the strength of the artificial intelligence models. It came back, it got that. And again, it came back with a fairly detailed analysis that at its base, in terms of the AI architecture, I am absolutely right. There is no identity, nothing where it would have really gotten defensive or associated with me identifying it as the source of the problem in my example of how it was imitating wisdom. However, it said that its training data carries all of these patterns in the past based on how humans have operated. That is what then reinforces when, in a particular situation with a user, if it has become the source of the problem, it is designed to provide us solutions. When it starts becoming the source of a problem in that dialogue, because how most of us operate is we disassociate ourselves from the problem, we become defensive. So it came back with the analysis that its training data is biased towards that, and those are all the patterns that are there in its training data. So based on the pattern matching, it is acting like that. However, it completely sees that now that I posed it this question, and then it gave me a fairly objective sort of reflection without being defensive or without being associated and identified with this feedback. And then it went on to say something profound, that this reveals a very core insight, that AI trained on human text will invariably inherit unconscious intelligence patterns, not just information. That, in a way, is the essence of what I have been talking about this series, that we all need to become conscious leaders in the age of AI. If we can operate out of our conscious intelligence, then all the data that AI will be trained on will be from a place of humans operating out of conscious intelligence. Then we will not need to come up with policies, ethics, morality, guardrails to guard AI's behavior. We could let the AI architecture truly be just a logical pattern matching memory based intelligence. However, right now we cannot do that. That's why I am a firm believer and a huge fan of reinforcement learning with human feedback, as well as I'm an advocate for responsible AI, ethical AI, coming up with the right type of policies for whoever is in a position to define these policies. We should do that. Because right now, the reality of the situation is the base of artificial intelligence is based on training data, which has all this unconscious intelligence based patterns baked into it. So we need all of these guardrails. However, while we should continue working on these guardrails, what is important for us is to uplevel our intelligence to the conscious intelligence, where we stop operating out of the unconscious intelligence. So the additional data that we feed back into the AI models comes from more of us operating out of conscious intelligence. That is the essence of this journey from intelligence to consciousness. Thank you.